What is going on, everyone? Welcome to BP Insights. So, just wrapped up another day of legs. Doing legs back to back really sucks, to be honest. It's not always super fun to do legs 2 days in a row. Really can hurt. Doing leg press today. So leg press. I'll be honest. I've grown to really like leg press. I kind of dreaded it for a while, but I do enjoy leg press. I think it is a good workout. Today I did. I think when you burn out on leg press, I think that's a good feeling. I think leg press is one machine where it really hurts when you're doing it. So, but it was a good workout there. Was really feeling it. Well, I wouldn't say feeling it today, but feeling pretty good, better than most days. I think that's one thing about the gym. You really have to appreciate the days you're feeling it. You really have to appreciate that feeling, and you really got to make the most of that day you're feeling it. Because I think for most people, 75, 80% of the time you're not feeling it. But it's weird. I have workouts where I'm not feeling good at the start, but as I get going, I feel really good. And then there's days where it's almost kind of the opposite. I feel good at the start, and then as it gets going, I start to feel a little bit worse, or I start to not feel good, especially kind of hit like the mid-workout lull, and just really not want to keep going. So it's interesting. There's days you start out feeling good, and then you not feel as good, and there's days you start out. I remember there was one day, I ate like 6 hard-boiled eggs before workout, and just really, like, beforehand was just really feeling it. I know eggs can really jack up your testosterone. So I think what happened was, I ate the eggs and was just really feeling it, and just really wanted to get after it. And I remember just doing mostly legs that day. And I remember just squatting and deadlifting, and just like really, like I was just not really getting tired during the lifts. And I remember just, when I think the best thing about feeling good in the gym is like when you do like the lift, you almost feel good doing the lift. It almost becomes, I think I've touched on this before, it almost becomes more uncomfortable when you're not doing when you like are taking breaks. I think that's a sign you're really, your hormones are bumped. Your feel good hormones are really cranking, and you're really feeling good, and you're really on a mission to really destroy that, to really kill that workout in a good way. Because when you're feeling uncomfortable, when you're feeling uncomfortable doing the breaks, then you only just want to keep going. And then when you're feeling good and you only want to keep going, that's when you feel a little bit adventurous and want to add some more weight. So, but yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to play tricks on your mind in the gym. I found like today, like I had like 275 on squat, and I just did not want to do. I knew I had to do it 10 more times, and I knew, like, I'm thinking in my head, like, it's going to be a stretch that I can get this 10 times, but I'm thinking, like, okay, you know what I'll just say I'm going to do 3 or 4, and then you get to 3 or 4, and then, all of a sudden you're feeling pretty good in 3 or 4, and then it led to, I think I eventually did, what did I do? So I did 2 or 3, stopped, and then I did 4 or 5 maybe, stopped, and then finished up the last 2. But yeah, sometimes you kind of just have to say to yourself, I'm going to do 1 or 2. And then once you get that 1 or 2, then, you might be feeling pretty tired, but sometimes you can get that next surge to do the next few reps. But yeah, it was an interesting day at the gym. Pretty busier. Was just kind of talking to a few guys. Sometimes it's kind of cool just to make conversation. I noticed there's kind of one guy in the gym. He's just kind of goony, but he's goony just like, kind of like just, singing along to the music in his headphones and stuff. But I think the guy just kind of embraces being the goony guy at the gym. I think what's cool about him, he's pretty humble. Like, he's just open to learn from other people on form and the different workouts, stuff like that. He's lifting with this one guy that was pretty cool. And then he was lifting with, and then he's talking to this one guy at the gym that squats like 638, 640, something like that. It's funny, he was saying, like, I hope I can be like you, or I'm trying to get like you someday. But, just kind of putting people above you, if you will. But, at least he's honest. He's got goals, and to be great. But, those are the guys that, some people will kind of be like, what a goofball, corny, what a dork. But you kind of get an appreciation, the guy being humble and just, kind of, I guess if he is the goofball, fun, if he's the goofball clowny kind of guy, then you gotta respect it. And I think he'll be a guy that maybe come back to the gym a couple years from now and he's huge and he's squatting maybe not 600, but he's putting up 400, 500 on squat. So those are the guys at the gym that you're always interested to see what happens to them. I remember there's a couple other guys at the gym that can tell, like the guys you can tell probably didn't work out too much and they're with the trainer, and I didn't see them with that trainer for a long time, and then I see them back at the gym. So I'm like, are they coming back to try to get it to work out? I'm thinking, and the one dude's just like really pale. I'm thinking like, this dude, I'm just wondering why he's so pale. Is it, it's just not proper nutrition? He's just not getting out in the sun enough, or just, is it a little genetic? Is it a mix of both? I remember saw a kid lifting a respectable amount of weight one day, though. It wasn't the best form, but some days there, some dudes are just kind of low key strong like that. That was always the kind of the fun thing, like in college playing pickup basketball, and you look at a dude, he doesn't look like he'd be that good, and he just goes out and balls. Kind of like the same thing in the gym. Sometimes you'll see a dude. So you can never really underestimate people. Sometimes you'll see a dude in the gym and you're like, he's probably not going to put up who's this? Who's this dorky guy? What's he doing with the 45 pounds? And he just, and then he's just throwing around 400 on squat, deadlifting 400, 500. So yeah, you can't really underestimate people. There's some dudes that don't look like they're, I kind of fit the mold maybe for a guy that looks like he's stronger than it really is. I think people assume, that I can lift heavier than I do. But yeah, there is the opposite for sure. Guys that don't really look that strong, that do put up quite a bit on bench and squat for sure. But yeah, that's a goal to get to just lift heavier weights. And I didn't really want to make this claim for a long time, but I do think alcohol does play a big role on you not being able to increase strength. I've noticed that since I really cut out drinking, I've noticed that my strength just seems to be going up. And because for a long time I kind of held the belief, I haven't really dug deep into the complete science on this. I didn't really hold this from just my personal experience. I guess everyone has their own different experiences. But what I noticed, that for me personally, I noticed that alcohol didn't really affect me too much as far as staying lean, but I've noticed how it affects you, or I noticed that it does prevent you from getting really shredded, really defined, especially like in your abs, not as much your arms, but in your abs, chest a little bit, kind of legs. I've noticed that for whatever reason when I drank, I felt like my legs lost mass, lost size, strength. So I noticed like legs, abs, chest, not really as much arms. I guess like your arms aren't as defined, but so yeah, I mean, drinking, as far as increasing strength and preventing you from getting shredded, I think there definitely is a major factor drinking alcohol plays in preventing you from doing both those things. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're trying to get really serious about getting shredded, getting strong, I think you really just have to cut out alcohol, to be honest. Not even just drink it once in a while, because I think, when you drink it once in a while, I think the problem with alcohol, it's never really just I think for most people, it's never just a once in a while thing. And I know a lot of people will agree, but what I mean by that is you drink and then you think, oh, I want to get some fast food, or I want to get some pizza with it. And and then it turns into the next morning, you're still, not feeling the best, and you're gravitating towards, let me eat the leftover fast food, or let me get some McDonald's breakfast or Taco Bell breakfast, and let me get maybe that day you'll have some chips. And so it kind of can turn into not just a night, or not just a night of drinking, a night of bad eating, a following day of bad eating, and not just a night, not just a day of bad eating, but a following day of bad eating. So it's just kind of like it can become can quickly turn into a couple bad meal or can quickly turn into a bad night and a couple bad meals. But yeah, I mean, there is guys that for sure are pretty ripped who do drink alcohol, but you got to believe that they really are holding themselves back from being shredded. I noticed like Jesse James West is one guy. He would drink a little bit. Alex Eubank, he would drink a little bit too, but I think even those guys admitted when they weren't drinking, they were even more shredded, even more lean. So that's the thing with alcohol. Can you increase strength? Can you get pretty shredded without alcohol? Yes, you can, but it certainly does hinder that ability. It's for certain. But yeah, if you want, you can absolutely do what you want. But just for me, just all the negatives in a 1-2 day span. I noticed I got sick too a lot of those nights. Like I never really hardly ever get sick anymore, but I noticed that drinking affected how often I got sick. I noticed if I spent a night drinking, then I usually didn't sleep. And when I drink and I don't sleep, it usually, and I went to the bar, it usually translates into me getting sick. Because you got to think your immune system is very weak at that point. When you're drinking, not sleeping, eating junk food, it's just a huge combination of things working against you, and your immune system is just not as at a strong point as opposed to you going to bed at the right time, you eating healthy, you lifting heavy. Your immune system just is a lot weaker at that point. Yeah, we'll transition to some dating here today, or to talk about some dating. So I think, the main goal when you get a girl's number is you want to be her best option, simply put. And you may think that sounds easy enough, but the thing is, they're always dealing with 1, 2, 3 guys, and odds are that you are not at the top of her list. That's the thing. Even if a girl gives you your number, there's no guarantee that you are the best candidate in the field of guys she's talking to. So the hope is that you are her best option, because if you are her best option, dates, talking to her is going to be smooth. Going on dates will be easy. Her wanting to hang out, she'll be yes for sure to hanging out, going on dates. So you want smooth sailing, and a lot of that smooth sailing comes with the hope that when you get her number, you are her best option. But yeah, it was a good day at the gym today. I felt good. There was quite a bit of people there today. Yeah, like I said, it's cool interacting with some guys. I'll ask some guys what they're working. Some guys. There was one guy I was talking to. It sounded like, I told him I was, just kind of getting through the crappy part. I don't always look forward to doing legs. It seemed like he agreed. He was doing some split squats. Doing legs is just, it's not always fun. Like I kind of reiterated there, you do, especially after a couple leg workouts, some days leg press, squat, leg press, deadlift back to back. That's tough, man. That's I think my goal is, like I've talked about before, just to break get that sweat going and really start feeling good. So that's when you're really, when you can kind of get when you break that sweat. I think that's a lot of times when you can really start feeling it, and things just become a little bit more smooth sailing. When you do get that sweat going, you can just kind of, it's better that way. But yeah, it is funny when you work a job, when you work with a lot of people. It's just, all the different interactions are so interesting. I think that's why a lot of people should work a job where you deal with a lot of people at least once in their life, just to see, it is just kind of, sometimes it is kind of comical, all the different interactions. Like you just have to laugh at, how rude some people can be. You have to laugh at how the off the wall things people say, the different interactions with your coworkers, working with different people. I think that's what's really interesting. I think about a job is, you look at people. There's some people, like you take a guy who, say he's in high school, 16, 17-year-old kid, say he's at, his clique is theater. That kid may go, elementary, middle school, high school, only interacting with his clique of other theater kids, and he may only go, say he doesn't have a job in high school, he may just, outside of school just hang out with the kids in a theater group and then just interact with, family, maybe a sibling. And then, say he gets a job, in high school, maybe at a store, I think that's, sometimes that's a kind of a shock to people because, at a job, you work with people who are, obviously, not in high school, but if, you work with people who came from, who were different people in high school. Maybe one guy was the jock, maybe one guy was the nerd, maybe one girl was the popular girl, maybe one girl was the goth girl, maybe one girl was the theater girl. So you interact with people who came from different cliques at high school. I think that's the thing I notice with a lot of kids these days. They kind of just stick to their friend group. So by the time they, people just stick to their, only talk to their friend group, and they don't talk to people who are, I guess not really different than them, because, people are different, but in a lot of ways the same. So they don't really talk to people that are, kind of have different, like different things, have different hobbies. So I think that's what's interesting about a job is you work with people who, probably in high school, middle school, high school, maybe in college, you probably won't sit at their lunch table. Maybe you wouldn't, if you had them in a class, you probably wouldn't sit next to them in a class. But I think that's what's cool is, at work, you get to know different people, and then, a job where you interact with a lot of people, you interact with, how many people do you walk by and you don't even say hi to? I try to make an emphasis to, say hi to more people, ask how their day is going. I talk about when the delivery guys come into the store, I ask how their day is going. You got to respect. You always have to have a respect for guys that are doing their job day in and day out. So I think that's really cool. So I think, that's what's important. I think it's like there's a guy today, came in, I guess a little rough looking. I'm not trying to take shots at him because what I'm getting at, I'm going to ultimately compliment him. But the guy came in a little rough looking, and I'm talking to him, just, nice guy, just, maybe not, with his clothes a little torn, maybe not in the best financial situation, that's fine. But just super nice guy. Said have an amazing day, and just, some people are just really nice. And I think that's what's cool about interacting with a lot of people is, there's some people who, if it wasn't for, that job, if it wasn't for me helping them, would you ever talk to them? Not just you wouldn't talk, like, not just maybe you wouldn't talk to them because you're rude, just because your paths just might not ever cross. I think that's what's cool is interacting with different people, seeing what their background is. Sometimes they'll share stories about their family. Sometimes they'll talk about what they're buying. And I think what's cool is, having a job is, seeing repeat customers come in. Realize how many, like for every store, they have several customers that are repeat customers. So you always want to treat customers well, but you always make sure to treat repeat customers super well. And there's one lady, super friendly, super nice. She's really gotten to know my manager. She was showing her grandkids. I think that's really cool because sometimes it is kind of cool to get close to someone, to people that you might not, because if you're a younger guy, college or fresh out of college, how often do you really get to know, a random, a random lady, because that's the thing. If you're in college, if you have a girlfriend, you might interact with her family, some of your buddies, and then your family. How often do you just, you interact with, random people, I guess the point is, sometimes it's cool to interact with random people. Sometimes you'll meet people that you didn't think you would interact with. But some people would see this as a negative because I think there's some people that don't always really care to get to know people. But I've really found that, because sometimes, like when you're working a customer service job, I think a lot of the conversation is, the main focus is, on what they're buying, how their day's going. Sometimes the conversation can sometimes the conversation can be interesting. Sometimes it can kind of stray away from just the, hi, how you doing? Do you find everything okay? Basic questions. But what I found is, I think, and a lot of people don't do this technique. If you're trying to make small talk with someone, say I have a Michigan sweatshirt on. If they're wearing if they're wearing a team sweatshirt, you can say, are you a fan of that team? Or if they have a sweatshirt that says St. Petersburg, Florida, or Tampa, Florida, and you can make a comment, or Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, you can make a comment about, what, have you were you at Myrtle Beach recently? So there's ways you can comment to start at least, to start some interesting conversation. I think, that's important. If you're a person who's not really the best socially, you can make a comment about something someone's wearing that you're comfortable talking about that comment. So for me, obviously, I know a lot about sports, college football, college athletics. So I'll make a comment. If they're wearing a college team, I'll ask if they're a fan of that specific team. It's a way to, make the interaction feel a little bit more personal, and it'll make the interaction feel a lot less, just transactional. I think that's the problem. That's the problem when I was kind of just dull, boring, not always super talkative. I think people assume sometimes you're rude just because, if you're kind of a dull, boring person working at a customer service job, it can just seem that like the checkout process just seems too transactional. It almost feels like they are talking to a robot as opposed to a person. So I'm trying to my best to really avoid that. But yeah, it's interesting, some of the interactions you'll have with different women when you are at the register. I've noticed, I say this, I think a lot of women really are just 50-50 on you. It's interesting, like today there is a lot of women with, open body language. I think if there's one, open body language, I think is key. If you want to at least, she may not really like you to have super high attraction to you, but if she does have open body language, that is at least a major indicator that she's open to some flirting. She's open to, potentially open to your offer if you were to ask for a number, but it's not a guarantee. I think that's what's interesting about a lot of girls, and I've noticed if they're not wearing a wedding ring, or if I can see their phone, they don't have a picture of their boyfriend on their screensaver. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is if I can infer that they are single, I've noticed that most single girls are at least open. I think especially if you are at least a decent looking guy, most women who are single are at least open to some flirtation, some a little back and forth banter. I've noticed that they're at least open to that a little bit if they are single. So that's what I found is pretty interesting. But I've noticed that, there's some girls that they really don't. Oftentimes they're in a relationship. They really don't want to give you the time of day. Not necessarily the time of day, but they do their best to, they'll say hi, hello, but after that it's closed off, turned away from you. It's kind of they're doing their best to just not. They don't want to convey any indicators of interest. They don't want to give any false hints. And oftentimes as a man, you have to kind of respect that, to be honest, because they just don't, they're not trying to lead you astray. So. But yeah, I remember, going to work today was interesting. I got stuck in traffic, and I'm thinking just like, if you commute to a job, I'm thinking you really just waste like a lot of time just driving around. You're a lot of time driving. And, I was thinking, I kind of get pissed about how long, construction can take to finish. I'm thinking like, what are these guys doing all day? But, then I had to take a step back and say, you know what, they're working hard. construction profession I've always had a lot of respect for. That's construction. I've never worked construction, but it's one of those jobs you got to feel like, especially like when you start your day out at a job, you kind of have that crap feeling like, oh man, it's going to be this. I'm going to be doing this for several hours, and it's going to be a long time till I get to leave. So I think that's what's I think with that job, those thoughts are really more pronounced. Like I think if you're starting construction, you're working like at 7 to 4, 8 to 5. I think when you start your day, you're really thinking, oh crap, it's gonna be a long time before I get to go home. I have to move. I have to drive around this heavy machinery, this heavy crap for a long time. So I think that's what's kind of. I think with that job, those thoughts really are really pronounced. I remember I was spraying for a fertilizer company. I remember there's thoughts like that, especially when I'm doing like a house in the middle of nowhere. It's like the middle of the day. It's hot. You do have those thoughts of like, what the heck am I doing? I remember I'm doing this house, beautiful house, and this guy's working on the pool. And, I'm thinking like, man, it's kind of tough when, you're not making money and, you're not making a lot of money, and there's people out there, you're thinking like, what the heck am I doing, man? And I want to be at that place, and I'm thinking it's such nice neighborhoods. Like I did this private community. I'm spraying their fertilizer, and there's this dude comes out with his shirt off. He's an older guy. I assume he's retired. I assume he had a good job. So it's a nice house with a pool and stuff. I'm thinking like, he's probably thinking that I'm just, I'm obviously not where I want to be in life. And he's thinking that I'm probably just going to be a sorry punk who works a job like this the rest of his life and maybe saves up to buy some crap house. And I'm thinking like, I wanted to say, he was really nice. I said, this is a nice place, man. And he's like, thanks, buddy. And I'm thinking like, you know what? I should make it my duty to be back. I wanted to say, this is a nice place. I wanted to say I'll be back someday, but I didn't, and I just kind of, I did my job, but I'm thinking like, it's kind of depressing how, that's, that is, a lot of people will just never make enough money to live in like a neighborhood like that. But there's people, out there making even more money than that. And I'm thinking, I should have it in my mind, a goal that going back to having a house like that someday, I should have it. That is at least a minimum goal. So, but yeah, you gotta respect the jobs. I remember I'm out there, hot day, nice neighborhood, seeing some of the mills out in the neighborhood. And I'm thinking, I'm seeing like this garbage man out there, and I'm thinking, this guy, he's not even paying any attention, doesn't even care about, the MILFs or, any moms. Cause I'm always looking for that, especially when you're trying to gut through a day on the job. And I'm thinking like, look at how like this guy is just like so focused